And with that, welcome back to another podcast interview here on Northern Finance. I'm very happy to have Laimonas Noreika, the CEO of HeavyFinance, today as a guest to answer, well, a lot of very detailed questions also. And it's actually the first interview we are having here on this channel about HeavyFinance, so I'm looking very much forward to that. Laimonas Noreika is the CEO of HeavyFinance, and before that he was for 4.5 years the founder of Finbi, also a consumer lending and business lending platform. Very exciting stuff and a lot of experience in building companies. So Laimonas, thank you for taking the time for this interview today.
Alex, many thanks for having me here, and I hope this conversation will be interesting for your community. And once again, many thanks for having me here.
Great. So can you tell us? Yeah.
So I was suppose I should I should give a bit of introduction on myself.
Exactly.
So as you said, yes, I did have launched Finbi years ago and successfully exited this company. So I'm in alternative lending space for already 8 years, and many of my career I'm in what's called fintech, even before it was called a fintech. So before that, I was doing a payment company. And that's where my experience comes from, and I'm happy that I can bring this experience to agriculture, a very, very important sector for all of us Europeans. And I really invite the community to really consider HeavyFinance as one of the tools to first of all, make sure that we as a continent are well secured in terms of food. And as well, I just want to give an insight that agriculture is one of the best tools to fight climate change. So I think these topics will be very interesting for your community to hear about, and I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, of course, it's important to protect the environment, but I think it's the first and foremost interest of the people to earn money with it, with these loans that we are financing. And I think HeavyFinance is an attractive platform for that. I saw many loans that are going from 10 to 12% interest rate per year. Can you tell us a little bit about, well, HeavyFinance itself and the company? What should investors know about you?
So as a company, we are now close to 40 specialists in agriculture, finance, and as well environment sciences. We now operate in 5 different countries in Europe. The company was launched close to 3 years ago. We are, full day and all day only in agriculture and in finance. We give this access to the investors community to access agricultural loans, let's say, right? So that's us. We don't do much. We just focused on a super large niche, which we think is very, very important. And all our energy, all our efforts goes directly to small and medium European farmers. So far as a company, we already provided close to 1,300 loans to different farmers in Lithuania, Latvia, Bulgaria, Portugal, Poland. We expect that Poland will be one of the major markets for us, and it's already delivering larger amounts of loans per month than other countries. So we are happy about that. We look into other European markets, as what we figured out is that it's very counterintuitive, but farmers are not getting access to finance which they deserve to, and that's one of the primary goals for us as HeavyFinance, to create them an access and make sure that when they need investments, when they need cash, they always can rely on HeavyFinance.
Right. And can you tell us a little bit more about the regulation and where you're located with the company right now, and what effects this does have on investors?
So as a company, we are effectively regulated by European Central Bank through the local regulator in Lithuania, which shows this as a primary market for us in terms of regulations. As we're locals here, we understand how the regulator operates, and that doesn't create us a large legal burden. So this is one of the reasons why we are here in Lithuania, but we are following European crowdfunding initiative, which allows us to operate in different countries, and that's how we are able to do that. As per what does it give to investors, I can tell you that I see as a person that regulation is a burden for a company, but is an extreme layer of security for investors. Just to give you one insight, I don't know any European platforms who got, or lost investors' funds just for the reason because they were regulated. And the regulation brings you many different layers of security. For example, the segregation of companies' accounts. So our accounts and investors' accounts are always sitting on a separate pockets, let's say, right? This is very, very important. What does it else brings? The information which is presented to investors have to always be correct. Otherwise, we as a company get a call from our regulator, and they're really strict on that. So these small things being regulated is not nice for the company, but it's a very important layer of security for investors. So we are regulated. We are following the law, and we believe that makes us stronger.
Right. So thank you very much for that explanation as well. And one thing I think that sets you apart also from the competition are the green loans that you have listed on your platforms, and they have so-called environmental certificates. So how exactly do these work, and what return can investors expect in this?
Yes, this is a very, very interesting project or product which we developed together with our scientist teams, with our environment colleagues. The product is created to impact European farmers to switch to more regenerative practices of farming. We need to dig a little deeper on how photosynthesis as a tool is used to permanently remove carbon from atmosphere. So when the farmers plow the ground, they reverse the layer of the soil. Carbon, which is C, reacts to oxygen, and then it becomes a CO2 emission to the world. But there is a practices in Europe, for example, in Holland, 90% of the farmland is being done by what's called no-till farming practice, meaning not plowing. There are other ways to do so. What we do with the capital, we push farmers towards this type of farming by providing them zero interest loans, so they can buy a new equipment, new tractor, which is needed for such of the practice. And instead of them paying us interest, we go and prove the removal of CO2 from the atmosphere, thus receiving the carbon certificates. These carbon certificates are even better in terms of return than actually asking a farmer of interest rates. So with this product, what we created, we ask investors to go and invest in zero interest loans, but in exchange, they can expect a return from carbon certificates, which at current market prices, in the way we structured the product, is around 20% of interest if our math behind the product will really actually work. There are a few possible deviations in the math. For example, the carbon price, right? The carbon credit price. It might increase in price, or it might decrease in price. So this is one. The second layer is how much exactly one farm will deliver or these carbon certificates, because farm from farm, they are different. It depends on the soil type, and depends on the other farming practices. So to say, there is no exact interest rate to be received from such a structure. But we invite investors, first of all, to understand that with their capital, they are doing an impact towards a very, very important topic, global warming. And we as a company believe that the problem of global warming is so high that even by moving to that direction, getting a carbon certificates, we really believe they will increase in price for the reason that it's a major topic. And I believe that everyone sees how much of the information around us is there. So we provide them access for our investors to support farmers and at the same time expect returns.
Yeah, I find that concept very interesting. First, because I haven't seen it before anywhere. And second, because it can generate a higher return, but there are some additional risks to it. And how I personally see it, I would say the biggest risks here are, of course, the price of the carbon certificates, how they are developing. And on the other hand, if you can actually get it through so that the investors actually get a claim on these carbon credits, then I think that's like a little bit of an untested or new market, because it's a new concept, of course. The carbon credits itself, they are also quite new. So when can investors expect their first returns on these loans to see if they actually work or not, and then decide to maybe invest a little bit more?
So best case scenario, we are expecting to receive first credits from these type of loans in Q1 2024. So that's a best case scenario. However, we are now providing as a HeavyFinance consultancy service for the farmers. So we as a company will receive the first credits in Q4 this year and then sell it. And so we will earlier know if that makes sense or not. However, you're totally right. It's still, on a testing phase, but that's one of the reasons why we structure the product so interesting for investors. If we succeed, then the interest rates are like, let's say, superb or too good, right? That's the reason why we invite investors to take early, to be early mover and maybe reap the rewards of our success as well as farmer success and investor success. The way we structure the product now is that investors provide a loan for 4 years, meaning that their capital is being paid back in equal parts in 3 or 4 years, while the reward from such a product will be, let's say it's 12%, for example, lower than we expect, but for 10 years. So this reward is 10 years while you risk your capital for 3-4 years. We believe that it's lucrative enough for people to join this initiative. And the worst case scenario, if that fails, then you will just get your principal back. So we have to be honest here. There are some unknowns, but that's what it makes to be an innovator.
Yeah, that's a good quote, actually. So when we are not talking about green loans, but about the, let's say, usual loans on your platforms, or on your platform, the 1,300 loans that you mentioned in the beginning that you already financed, how are they chosen? So which ones actually get listed? What's the important criteria that you use here?
So we do score clients using the balance sheet and profit and loss statement reports. That's our major, let's say, Bible when we score or what we call underwrite clients. So we need to see if a farm is healthy enough to take the responsibility of paying back the loan. This is the most important thing, what we judge. We need to see if there's enough revenue to serve the loan. So basically just simplifying everything what we do, that's the most important thing. The other important thing is the collateral. Majority of our loans, like 90% of what we do, are with collateral. So it's either a land or heavy equipment, a heavy machine, or some equipment. So in our credit scoring mechanism, it's only 10% importance. What's the collateral? People think that that's the most important thing, but no, for us, collateral is not the most important thing. We use it to simplify the recovery process, or let's say get the money back if the farmer stops paying, correct? But what we score is the probability of default depending on the finances, not the equipment. I really wanted to use this chance to a little bit explain how we operate. And what's important as well to understand what's a major difference in terms of agriculture and other sectors is that farmers are personally liable for the loans they are taking. They, as a business operators, they have a little bit different legal structure behind them. So to give the worst case scenario, for example, if there's a farmer who took a loan from HeavyFinance community and the farmer is not paying. So of course, first of all, we will go and use the recovery process of the collateral we have, it's either land or equipment. When we sell it, it's not a super short procedure, right? When we sell it, then we claim for other assets in the farm. Then we use other collateral. We don't have a pledge on it, but still there is a lot of, to look how to recover the funds. Even if that fails, then the farmer is liable personally. So after he sells all his flats, only then investors lose principal. So this is super important, that farmers are borrowing as businesses, but they're liable as private individuals. This is a mega important in terms of risk management.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And when you look at the performance of all the loans that you've given out so far since inception, what kind of performance were investors getting for those loans since the beginning of your of HeavyFinance?
So when we started the business, we set our target that the default rate, what we call 90 days late, we wanted this to be not more than 7%. Last year, we had a very turbulent year in terms of war in Ukraine, and especially the rapid increase in fertilizers price and as well fuel prices. So we're almost to the level which became a little bit, not comfortable for us. However, we managed to control it, and we are seeing very nice recovery rates from the loans which were defaulted. And I believe that with all the data we have in hands, that the net loss of principal on our portfolio will not be larger than 2%. So if there is 100 million issued, for example, the net loss would be 2 million euros, while at the same time the community is earning 12%. So what I'm saying here is that even having in mind default rates, recovery rates, the net loss is close to 2% while you're earning 12, meaning you have still a double-digit return.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Great. Thank you very much for that information. And on HeavyFinance, there are different structures basically when it comes to how the loan is secured. So sometimes there are also pledged assets. Sometimes it's only the farmer who is taking the responsibility of paying it back. So how exactly, are the loans different? And what kind of securitization do you consider the most important?
We do have a product which we call cash flow loan. So when a farmer doesn't need large amount of funds, so we structure the product where up to 15,000 euros of loan can be issued to the farmer without a collateral, meaning that it's enough to see their finances, like P&L and balance sheet, as well, having in mind that there's a private liability. We see that this product is easy to issue, doesn't have costs around it, and it's efficient for both farmers, us, and investors to have it. The statistics around the product proves our point that these non-securitized loans are not performing worse than securitized loans. At the same time, they are a little bit more expensive for a farmer. So we do have these products, but in our current composition of portfolio, it's not larger than, I believe, 15% of what we do in terms of the total amount issued. The majority of the portfolio is collateralized with either land or heavy equipment. So when we collateralize the land, we go for 90% loan to value ratio. If we collateralize the heavy equipment, it's up to 70%. If we collateralize the equipment which is used in a farm, such as drilling machine or something like that, we go only up to 50%. So there are risk levels which we foresee, and so far so good. We are happy with the results, even having in mind that being a young company, we faced a very, very turbulent years and managed to pass through.
Yeah, that's very true. But to make one follow-up to that prior question, do you have a favorite when you personally invest in loans on heavy finance for securitization? So I, for example, really like the machines or the heavy equipment and the land as security, and I only invest in those actually. Do you have a favorite as well, or something you prefer, let's say?
Unfortunately, as a regulated entity manager, I can't have my, I'm not an investment advisor here.
All right. Okay. Well, I tried, and let's continue then with the next question. So we are, as you said, in very turbulent times. First, we had COVID, then we had the war in Ukraine, and it seems to be going on with high inflation that we have all these problems right now coming together. And many peer-to-peer lending platforms or crowdfunding platforms, they are struggling with their borrowers not repaying on time. So what expertise do you have when it comes to that topic in case some of your borrowers go into default, to recover that quickly?
As always, I believe that it's more important not to issue the loan to the client who was not supposed to receive the loan. That's the first and foremost important thing, and try to avoid the recovery. At least that's how we tend to operate. However, if we speak about the recoveries, we always have a chance to sell defaulted loans to the companies who are dealing with buying these loans and then going for recoveries. We as a heavy finance, we don't see that as a viable option, because we believe that even if it takes longer to deal with the equipment to sell, or to have auctions and bailiffs in place, but it's more rewarding for our investors. So we want to have it in-house. We believe that our recovery rates will be very high. In conservative scenario, we say that at least 70% of the contracts which we canceled with the farmers will be recovered. However, in mind, we are aiming for 90% recovery, even if it takes time. So we do have this experience. We understand the math behind it, and we try to increase the net return for our investors by not selling this, even if that would impact, that cash or principal part of the loans will be recovered faster for investors. But on the long term, it's not a wise decision to do. So we a little bit, ask for investors to maybe wait for additional, 5, 6, 7 months, but to recover the principal amount on the market conditions. And we see market conditions more of the 90% recovered amount than 70%, which we could, sell on a market.
And do you have a dedicated risk team for this, or who's handling this in your house?
Yes, we do have recovery specialists in place. The team behind HeavyFinance is, a seasoned in working with agricultural clients. So the specialists which we have in place give us comfort to proceed and make sure that investors will receive their funds back from the loans which were in default. Any business will always have defaults if they are lending business. However, it's important to control it.
Yeah, very true, very true. And now to get a little bit next step, let's say we have an investment that's also going really well, and I've also seen this in my investment account on HeavyFinance. Why did you decide to register in Lithuania? I know, and I've been investing in peer-to-peer lending for a few years now. Lithuania and Latvia, they always have this rivalry, right? And the withholding tax is also one point of that for investors. Now it got reduced to 5% in Latvia. Before it was 20%. But in Lithuania, it's still 15%. Why did you decide to register there and have this, well, negative point for investors included?
Oh, that's a very interesting topic and is happening for many years already. The thing is that theoretically, all countries should be applying the same what Lithuania is doing. So, unfortunately, my country is really, really strict on paying taxes. And even if I would, what I'm saying here is that the interest rate has to be paid on the country where it was earned, right? So if you have any cross-border company, this should always be the case. For example, if you would be lending through HeavyFinance in Portugal, HeavyFinance should be deducting your taxes and paying it in Portugal. So it's not the country's problem; it's the problem of other countries not doing what's already in law. Maybe there is a reason behind it. It's too small interest, maybe so on. But unfortunately, we cannot move this out. What we are doing now, we are deducting only from the interest which was earned in Lithuania because the tax agency is active here. However, I believe in some years it will change and all countries will start deducting same as we do it here. So I can't really comment. Taxes has to be paid, and that's what it is.
Right. Let's stay with that topic though for a short while. There are options to reduce this rate. For example, for German investors, they have to fill out a form. It's not online, unfortunately, but you actually have to download a PDF file. And how does that work? So do you have to do a lot of paperwork in order to get that done and reduce that rate in Germany, in the case of Germany, from 15 to 10%? And then the German investors can also count it against the tax that they have to pay themselves. Is that a lot of paperwork for you?
I believe no, it's not a major paperwork. It's just that there is a paperwork around it. So we provide what's called DAS2 form, which you have to deliver to your tax agency, saying that I paid 15% rate in Lithuania and my effective rate is 10. So that's how it goes. So it's not a lot of paperwork, but it is a paperwork. We would love to avoid it. We would love to avoid any paperwork at all, but Europe is getting there. We're having less and less paperwork around, but if you want to deduct your taxes, then you have to fill these forms.
Right. If you, for example, I know you're not a tax expert, but if you would have to make a prediction how that process looks in the future, because taking 15% or 10% away from your earnings, some investors maybe don't count it against the tax they paid. That can be an issue in terms of net return for some investors. Do you have any time frame or plan to change this somehow, or is it even possible?
Truth to be said, I am expecting more into development, as I said, that all countries will little by little catch up to these taxes, which are effectively not paid. If the platforms do not deduct it, then they're not paid where they should be paid by law, and the law is European. It's not local law, right? So I believe that I don't know when, but this should be that direction should be this one, right? Because if there's a law, then governments should oblige to it. But it seems like tax agencies are not doing their job yet, or they don't know that there's a taxable events happening. But it will. I just don't know when and how. But if we believe that everyone should follow the law, then the law says exactly that interest rate should be deducted in the country where it was earned.
Okay, so let's say, or I am investing on HeavyFinance, of course, and I am seeing that the loan supply hasn't been that great yet, to be honest, in the last few weeks. But now many farmers, I suppose, are planting the seeds again and having more economic activity, so to say. Do you expect, if you talk to investors, do you expect them to have a higher loan supply in the next few weeks and months on your platform?
Thing is that the perception you're having is a bit wrong as we act. The truth is that we're limited by capital supply. So we can originate quite significant amounts of farmers, but the loans are not getting financed. So for that reason, we are, by the way, working with the European Investment Fund. We are soon to launch a fund together with them, quite large one. We are having another institutions to finance our loans. So we think that we could do around 100 million euros per year, even this year, if we had enough capital supply for such loans. And that's a message to your community, Alex. We do have a significant pipeline ready. We just need people to understand the mechanics behind what HeavyFinance do, and trust in our process, and support European farmers. They are in need of capital.
All right. I'll be following closely what numbers you can do, and if it gets to that 100 million landmark, would be great. Do you have something you would like to say to my community, to investors in general who are already maybe on HeavyFinance? What you would say to them right now?
What I want to say is we opened a sector to invest, which is important, which is the one who is able to reduce CO2 and at the same time make very, very interesting returns to investors. So my question is, why choose something else than you can make an impact with your funds? So we invite to support farmers, to support our company, and to support yourselves by having moral, satisfaction that not only I'm making funds, but I'm doing good for environment in both food security and CO2 removal. So I invite you to join HeavyFinance and be active community member.
Right. And if we look at, let's say, the next 6 to 12 months in development of HeavyFinance, what are your plans for the future?
So now we really want to prove the concept of green loans. We envision that these ones will be one of the major products on our platforms, because that's where we see major impact to the environment and results of the investors. So that's one thing. Second thing, as I said, we are willing to start working with institutional capital. We believe we're pretty close to it. So the supply of the funds on the platform will increase significantly. As well, just to give you an insight, we do not plan to open new markets this year. We think that we have enough of the markets open. We might be testing a few countries, but not on a large scale. So we will keep on doing what we do best, originate small and medium farms. However, focus more on impact investing, where capital can do impact on removing CO2.
Very interesting, and I think you already have a few markets open and a lot of potential to expand in them. So I think that's the right move to go where it's currently working. And one final question: if you compare HeavyFinance against the competition, let's say, for example, Lande is also a big platform in agricultural financing. What would you say differentiates you from the competition?
We decided from the moment we opened this company that we are not comparing ourselves. We are showing what we're best at. So I'm happy for Lande. I'm happy for all other competitors. What I dream about is that everyone becomes regulated. That's I'm a personal fan of it, and less comparison to each other, but more work, because alternative finance can be way bigger than it is now. So I suggest we focus on expanding the market and not competing.
All right. Thank you very much, Laimonas, for taking the time for your answers to these detailed questions and going into details with the answers as well. And I look very much forward to continuing investment on your platform and seeing how your platform develops. I think there can be a very bright future ahead. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Alex.